good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, President John Mahama describes smuggling and under-declaration of goods as economic sabotage, warning that such acts could severely undermine Ghana's economy.
Under-declaration, counterfeit goods, and rebagging of inferior products are not minor infractions. They constitute economic sabotage.
Meanwhile, the Food and Beverages Association is calling for a nationwide ban on the entry of selected products through all of Ghana's land borders. Also ahead, a new 10% global import levy imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump takes effect today. But what are the implications for the markets and export-dependent economies? My name is Darryl Kwao. Details coming up. Staying with us, everyone. First up, President John Mahama has described smuggling and under-declaration of goods as economic sabotage, warning that such acts severely undermine Ghana's economy. Speaking at the presidential private sector dialogue on Monday, he announced that trade-related infractions will now be treated as economic crimes, with any public officer found complicit to be dismissed and prosecuted. His remarks follow a joint operation by the Ghana Revenue Authority and the National Security, which led to the seizure of tracks linked to tax evasion scheme estimated at 85 million Ghana cedis. More in this report.
Presidential dialogue with the private sector brought together captains of industry and the business community, ministers of state, CEOs of state-owned enterprises, and more. President Mahama in his speech said Ghana's economic transformation is a joint enterprise that government cannot achieve alone. He said equally, the private sector cannot thrive without a government that listens, reforms, and creates an enabling environment for businesses to succeed, and the dialogue is about resetting that partnership. President Mahama warns his government will treat trade-related infractions such as smuggling and the under-declaration of goods as economic crimes. He served notice public officers found complicit will be dismissed and prosecuted.
Smuggling, under-declaration, counterfeit goods, and rebagging of inferior products are not minor infractions. They constitute economic sabotage. To stem this tide and protect our fledgling manufacturing sector, we will intensify coordinated border enforcement, treat trade infractions as economic crimes, dismiss and prosecute public officers found culpable, deploy technology-driven customs surveillance solutions, and rigorously enforce product standards. This government is determined to protect Ghanaian enterprises so they can thrive and grow.
The president said he takes note of the Ghana Chamber of Mines' recent reports that says that Ghana is losing competitively in investments to Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria. He said areas like corporate taxation, electricity tariffs, and stable power must be looked at in the report.
I take note of the Ghana Chamber of Mines' recent reports that says that Ghana is losing competitively in investment to Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria. There are many areas we need to look at as outlined in the report. Areas like corporate taxation, electricity, tariffs, and stable power, duties on machinery and equipment, and several other factors. And so, across every subsector represented here tonight, one constraint dominates. That is the cost of energy and reliability of power. Industrial tariffs in Ghana remain uncompetitive relative to our regional peers. No industrial nation thrives under structurally high cost of power. This administration will accelerate energy sector debt restructuring, expand generation capacity, particularly in renewables, introduce differentiated off-peak industrial tariffs, improve transmission efficiency, and promote embedded generation in industrial enclaves.
Another development, the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, FABAG, is calling for a nationwide ban on the entry of selected products through all of Ghana's land borders following government's directive blocking transit goods at the Aflao border. Chairman of the Food and Beverages Association, John, joins me on Zoom to talk to us a bit more about this. Good afternoon to you. So you've commended government for the Aflao border directive. Why do you believe this intervention is so critical at this time?
Well, first of all, let me applaud the government and, for that matter, GRA, for this very decisive action, a very timely action. In fact, it is long overdue because we are in the business and we know exactly what happens. And we are partners in development. So in any situation where we find out that people are engaging in activities that is not immune to the benefit of the country, we would have to raise the alarm and then direct policymakers to be able to tailor policy towards those directions. And so for over the years, I have always advocated and called for policies that will combat smuggling, policies that will ensure that the government of the day rakes in the needed tax revenue for economic development. So the implementation of this ban on transit goods is a very, very decisive, a very great decision. And we think that if it is handled very well over a period of 3 to 6 months, they will see revenue increasing from the import side, because we have information and we have been very aware, whereby a lot of people divert their goods to Aflao, indeed ship loads, they offload their goods in Aflao and then go ahead to load them in trucks in the name of transit, in the name of bringing them to even to Ghana. And then they, by the border, they work their way out and bring it. And at the end of the day, the nation loses massively in 2 ways. One way, on the direct taxes they would have just paid at the port, the duties. And then on the second leg, they undermine the activities of legitimate businesses. Those who have brought in their goods through the Tema port, those who have brought in their goods through the Takoradi port are unable to sell, because once they are able to evade taxes, then they can sell below the market price of those goods. And at the end of the day, the legitimate businesses will not be able to sell to pay the required taxes. They will also not be able to expand in order to be able to employ. And so at the end of the day, they will be struggling, and these unscrupulous people will continue to benefit at the peril of the nation and in general. So with this, we think that it's a very decisive decision, but they need to extend it to Olugo border, to Sankansi, and those land borders all. Because I have said it variously that in any time, depending on the government of the day, one border gets busy or the other. And so Aflao border has been taken care of. They need to go to the Enugu border and place that ban. All the land distance, they should ensure that we don't allow goods, transit goods for that matter. Indeed, if they could even take it to another leg, as President Kufuor did, His Excellency, in 2006 thereabout, he had to place a complete ban on the imports of goods through by land. And so it's not a trade war, it's not a fight, it's just to sanitize and let people know that government is very, very serious about the fight against smuggling, under invoicing, over invoicing, evasion of taxes. So GRA must hold on to this. They should not relent. People, definitely those unscrupulous people will call and say, well, this is affecting our business and then all that. If you want to import, Togo imports rice and Ghana imports. And indeed, on the para, Ghana imports more than Togo does. So why would they go to Togo to buy rice and then pass through Ghana to Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso? They are supposed to buy it from Ghana here and then take it to wherever. And in years past, and I've been in industry for over 2 decades, and they always come into Ghana to buy. And anytime you find out that the market for these goods from Niger and others go down, then you find out that smuggling increases. You find out that those activities increase from the Togo side. So it is a very laudable decision. It's a very great one, and we stand with them, and we will continue to support them in whatever way for the overall development of this country. Because after all, this is our country. We have nowhere to go to. This is our country, and development is all our core responsibility.
I'm going to try to ask you, couldn't we risk issues with supply and prices if we enforce stricter border controls?
No, there's not going to be any supply and then also any other repercussions. The thing is that all the rice and whatever, rice, sugar, tin, tomato, spaghetti, cooking oil, all of them come through the port, Tema or Takoradi, largely through the Tema port. So if you find somebody bringing goods from Togo, mainly the key decision of the person is that they feel want to evade taxes. And that is it. It is as simple as that. You find even French labeled goods in Ghanaian market against our labeling requirement. If national security goes into the Ghanaian market, if food and transport goes into the Ghanaian market, they'll find French goods that contravenes our labeling requirement, that contravenes our standards, all in the market. And this is not only for rice, it's not only for cooking oil and the selected products. It is indeed, the impunity has extended to the level of even hair products, this Nestle products, all kind of stuff. So everything, and when you speak to industry players, they are all complaining, whether it is textiles, it is juices, or whatever not. They are bringing them in and undermining seriously our competitiveness, undermining our levels of employment, undermining the local industry. And we cannot continue. Smuggling is an enemy. And we cannot sit there and then know what is happening and then allow government to not to take the rightful decisions.
Yeah, we've got news that there's a new commissioner of customs appointed by the president. And as we talk about this, what do you expect the customs board authorities and other state agencies to do to ensure that this policy achieves its intended result?
Well, we congratulate him on his appointment, and we think that he has a lot of work to do, particularly the borders. That is where a lot of tax evasion takes place. He needs to have a strong eye on the borders. A Lugo border, Sankansi, Aflao border, all those main borders, he needs to have an eye there, because clearly I've issued statements over and over and estimations of how much this country loses through those activities of smuggling and those who evade taxes and all that. And so, because they keep on claiming that Togo is a free port, so they land their goods in there and they bring them in. And if you manage to evade about 40% or more taxes, you are on top of the market, and you can sell your goods at any price. Quickly, you turn over and then you move. So the Commissioner of Customs, he has a big job to do. He needs to pay attention strongly to the borders and ensure that the market is fair for everyone.
All right, John Awuni, Chairman of the Food and Beverages Association, thank you so much for speaking to us here on The Marketplace. We're taking a short break. When we come back, we've got The Exchange. We'll be talking about the new Trump tariffs and its implications for Ghanaian exporters. Don't go anywhere. Well, welcome back. So a new 10% global import levy imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump takes effect today, February 24. The temporary tariff follows a Supreme Court ruling that blocked several of its earlier sweeping import taxes. Analysts say the move could still heighten global trade tensions with possible implications for markets and export-dependent economies. Joining me for the Tuesday exchange is Nicholas Apokera, who is Chief Executive of Trade Aid Africa. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Maybe you could clarify this. What does the new 10% U.S. import levy mean for African exporters, particularly those trading under AGOA?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon to your listeners. Yes, so this tax issue has been off and on, and now we have the U.S. president has managed to, bypass the Supreme Court ruling and has come out with this 10%, but potentially can increase to 15% tariffs imposing on across all countries. There is no exception, unless maybe you are given a caveat. Otherwise, all other countries who are importing to the U.S. economy have to face that tax. Now, that has a lot of implications for Ghana. We know that we were operating under the AGOA, and even though it ended, we got an extension up to December 2026. But it does not necessarily mean that we are not going to be affected by this new tariff. Because there's no exception given under it, and so we are going to still have to go by it unless maybe our diplomats or our trade institutions contact the U.S. government to seek clarity on it. Otherwise, they are just going to also be faced like other countries. And this will have a significant impact on a lot of things that we export to the U.S. market. Earlier, some of the earlier discussion we had on this subject, I have talked about the fact that it's going to increase the prices of our exports into the U.S. market. So, and in economies, when prices increases, consumers behave rationally, and they are likely to reduce their demand for goods that we export to the U.S. So, and when that happens, it can also affect our domestic production. We are going to suffer some job losses, because if our people are not selling, then it means that they cannot maintain the workers that they are working with. At the government level, we can suffer foreign exchange earnings because we are not selling, so we are not bringing in foreign exchange, and that can have significant implication on the current stability that we are enjoying with the CD as against other currencies. So the implication is very, very much far-reaching, and we need to, engage and see whether, because we are already under AGOA, whether we will be granted some exception under this whole new arrangement.
Yeah, so one would have thought with AGOA still in place, Ghanaian exporters would feel reassured, but as you are saying, there's still cause for concern, right?
Yes, because it's not guaranteed. When he announced it, he didn't give any exceptions. So we should take it from the face value that we are going to, even if there will be some concessions that we'll get under AGOA, these new tariffs will affect us until we engage them, and then they give us some caveat to say that, okay, because you're under AGOA, maybe let's take you off this. Otherwise, we should brace ourselves for increasing cost of our produce in the international market, particularly the U.S. market. And to see how domestically we can work to address that.
Yeah, are you already seeing hesitation or uncertainty maybe from U.S. buyers in response to these fast-changing trade policies?
Well, it just announced, it was just announced a few days ago, but we are still picking some concerns from our importers in the U.S. Because they think that if it is implemented at the rate at which it was announced, it will affect their business. They will have to increase their prices, and if they increase their prices, they probably will suffer, sales losses. So I remember one was engaging me to see if we could absorb some of those. And I said, no, we cannot, because already, I mean, we just have to pass it entirely to them, because our sector is already very stressed, and any additional cost on us would be problematic. You know, earlier on, I mean, some of our previous conversation on this, and they talked about the fact that the appreciation of the cedi, even though good, has affected non-traditional exports. Because at the time, at the beginning of the year, I mean, the exchange rate was going like 14 cedi to $1. So many of us, you know, kind of negotiated with our buyers using that rate. So now that, you know, later on it went down to 10 cedis, some months it was like 9 cedi, kind of affected what you get in cedi terms if your importers pay you. And that has affected what we're able to pay to our producers and even our workers. So there's a need, and unfortunately, we've not seen that kind of proactiveness on the part of government. I know that we are dealing with the craft sector, which is generally the non-traditional export sector. But this sector is providing a lot of employment to rural people. You know, in my organization, where we work with over 1,000 women who are producing these baskets.
Right.
You know, so you can imagine if we don't get this addressed, the livelihood of these people is in a balance. And I can tell that in the Bolgatanga.
Nicholas, are you still there? All right. It appears Nicholas Apokara is frozen, the chief executive of Trade Aid Africa, speaking to us about the new Trump tariffs coming into place and its potential effects on Ghanaian exporters. We will. Nicholas, we just have a minute. You said government was not being proactive enough. I just wanted to ask you quickly, if you can do so in a minute, what steps you'd want the government to take?
That we have trade institutions that are charged to address. We have the EXIM, we have Ghana Export Promotion Council, and all that. I expect that we have the Ministry of Trade, we have the Ghana Enterprise Agency. I expect these institutions to be on the, you know, to be up and doing and engaging producers, engaging business people to understand the true implication of these policies, and even the appreciation of the cedi, to understand how the long-term effect of these policies and how they can help us cushion them. Otherwise, I mean, I can bet you we are going to suffer losses in the not too long distance future.
Thank you for joining us for the Tuesday Exchange, Chief Executive of Trade Aid Africa, Nicholas Apokara. And that's it for the marketplace. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. FABAC demands full shutdown of affected imports via land routes. Also, Finance Ministry highlights falling inflation, stronger cedi in 2025. myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks for watching, everyone.